Alright, I know. The last time I said, the next time that we do Pokemon Bathwater Monday Fun Day, we're gonna be reading the most autistic and retarded Borderlands 4 fanboy comments. And we're still gonna do it, but I want more. Boys, listen. I want more of these special sauce comments, okay? We need more of that El Clasico. Well, how can you know that Borderlands 4 will be bad? It's not even out yet. It's gonna be good. Okay? We need some more of that brain rot comments, okay? I want a collection, okay? Like Pokemon, we're gonna catch them all, okay? So, I know, your dad doesn't believe you, Borderlands fanboys, but I do. I believe that you got one more in you. So go right there in that comment section and write something unbelievably autistic that you think is the most luxurious, smart, and well-crafted point that you have ever made in your life. Why Border Slop 4 is gonna be a success, because it will be, right? It will be. Okay? But until that point, we're just gonna have to make fun of Borderlands 4 in the classic way, okay?
Borderlands, the grandfather, if you will, of looter shooters. Some would even say it used to be the GOAT of the looter shooter genre. Now, whether or not you have played the series, whether you love them, you hate them, whether it's Borderlands' unique art style or its crude toilet humor,
the unique art style was unique when it came out. By Borderlands 2, the art style was already feeling old and out of place and not really good any longer.
In time again, Borderlands has actually seen relatively good success. Even the offshoots like Wonderlands did really well, exceeding developer expectations while also
yeah, but people hated it.
Having 30% of its player base be people completely new to the Borderlands franchise. However, Borderlands 3 kind of fell flat, and that was actually my first Borderlands experience. And for me, it fell flat for a multitude of reasons. The narrative really didn't hit for me. I felt like the writing, the dialogue, the jokes were a little too over the top. And I also felt like the antagonists, the content creator villains, just
yeah, because this is literally DEI-inspired incest bullshit. That's why it fell flat. And also, again, can we go back to the good old times when the closest explanation to a siren and why she has her power is that she, huffed a little bit too much space dust and, things just escalated from that, okay? Introducing an actual plotline to the sirens has been detrimental, okay? Sirens are now no longer interesting, unique, or anything. They're literally like Starfield's Shattered Space expansions people. Autistic and boring when you get to know them. And, again, can we just have a full retcon about sirens and how they, do everything?
Just didn't really shake me. On top of that, the loot was super plentiful, with legendary and rare drops raining 24/7, which ultimately made everything not feel that special, which is definitely something you don't want in a loot-driven game. And pretty much everyone has said that Borderlands 3 felt like a step backwards from Borderlands 2, which is why there is a lot of pressure on Borderlands 4. You see the marketing push from Gearbox hitting all-time highs. Gearbox knows that Borderlands 4 needs to pop. It needs to exceed even the success of Borderlands 2. And the question
ain't happening, though.
The question is, will Borderlands capture that magic again?
No.
The same magic that encapsulated so many players back in 2009 and in 2012. In this video, we are going to put the answer to those questions into your hands by giving you an overview of everything we know that is coming with Borderlands 4. I've given my first impressions of our first playthrough session, but that was over a week ago. And since then, I have immersed myself into the Borderlands world. So let's dive in and talk about everything new that's coming to Borderlands.
Oh,
now, to set the
boy.
stage, I think we need to briefly touch up on the storyline. You see, at the end of Borderlands 3,
the storyline is gonna be by far the worst part. I did a storyline analysis video of what we know of Borderlands 4. The storyline is literally, oh, shit happens because reasons type of slop, okay? It is the most woeful writing that doesn't make sense. Oh, so this guy had a whole planet literally implanted with things in their spines and brains that controls their mind? And you're telling me they got free. And then they just pulled out the thing that's connected to their brain and spine One of them is already probably 100% deadly to remove. But both of them, okay? And they just removed it and they were like, oh, well, this works pretty well, huh? Who would have expected that? Yeah, that's already like a major red flag for any kind of storytelling. Why do all of those people then like look like they're autistic and struggle to make even mud huts with their civilization? Don't know. Don't ask, okay? The bad guy seems genetic slop. Everything about the story seems just bad.
An entire moon was teleported out of the galaxy and away from the planet Pandora, which was the main destination of the first 3 games. Now, this was done in order to protect the planet. Now, turns out the moon was teleported into the orbit of the planet Kairos, piercing its protective veil.
Yes, and that planet Kairos, by the way, it's probably gonna be some kind of shitty lore retcon, but that planet Kairos is like the mystical planet of vault hunting. Even though vault hunting only exists for like how many years? Like it's literally just tens of years. Vault hunting exists. Okay, but that planet, Kairos planet, is the granddaddy mythical planet of the vault hunters, or some shit like that. Again, it's just completely retconning things. We already talked about this, but the whole story is just, it's gonna be a massive failure. Okay, if you didn't like Borderlands 3 storytelling, this is gonna be even worse. This is gonna be even worse on all fronts. All fronts, without question. Clip
kept
me.
it hidden from the rest of the universe. And this veil was also keeping the rest of the universe hidden from Kairos, including its people. Now, once this protective veil was shattered, cataclysmic destruction was unleashed across the planet, disrupting the multi-thousand-year reign of a guy called the Timekeeper, who essentially has been ruling over this planet and its people. Now, this tyrant is obsessed with order, and essentially has ruled for this long because he affixes every citizen with cybernetic implants called bolts, essentially allowing him to control their mind. Now, once the sky was opened up by the teleported moon, residents of Kairos suddenly knew for the first time ever that there was more to life than just Kairos.
Let me simplify what was just said there. So everyone on this planet called Kairos was enslaved by this dude with a mind brainwashing thingamajiggy. And then the magical veil that protected the planet for some reason got shattered, and the people whose brains were brainwashed looked up in the sky and they were, oh shit, look at that, there's something up there. And suddenly they were not brainwashed anymore. Yes, that is the level of storytelling Borderlands 4 is trying to achieve. It is truly gruesome.
Some of the people then began to pull out their implants and began rallying against the Timekeeper, which over time created multiple...
Yes, and when a small population of your people do that, and you have still like 95% of the population of the world controlled under your thumb, I mean, it's really hard to probably stop that uprising, you know what I mean? No, it's not. This is a joke.
Multiple factions to hopefully end his reign. Now, the Vault Hunters ended up crash landing onto Kairos 6.
Just small FYI.
Hopefully end his reign. Now, the Vault Hunters.
This was the first Border Slop 4 trailer that they released, and yeah, none of these skin colors are no longer like this, okay? She's no longer South African black, okay? She's like Pedro Pascal black now. This dude, who's a Nordic Viking, is ash now instead of white. And same with the other 2 characters. Again, it's hilarious how all these characters were full DEI, okay? After the first trailer dropped and everyone fucking clowned on them for being literally just DEI garbage, they just made the skin tones whiter, which is, again, hilarious.
ended up crash landing onto Kairos 6 years later. In the middle of all of this going down, not only is there a civil war happening with multiple factions fighting the Timekeeper Syndicate army, there's also tons of crazy wildlife that really doesn't care what side you're on top of a bunch of weirdos that removed their implants but also lost some of their brain at the same time. And vault hunting itself is also illegal on Kairos, so the Timekeeper definitely doesn't want the vault hunters around. So there's a lot happening here, guys. This time the story is much more toned down though, as Gearbox wanted to focus on something more dark and more grounded. They've also replaced a lot of the memes and pop culture references that people didn't like in the third game, the more drier style of comedy that stays in universe. The overall good news here for new players is that for the first time ever, the game is set.
By the way, that's what they the devs said about the comedy. Oh, it's more like the previous comedy of the game. Yeah, I don't buy that for shit. I do not buy that even for a slight, for even a second.
It's so far away from where the first 3 games took place that although yes, playing previous Borderlands games would enrich your experience, it most definitely isn't necessary. Gearbox is focused on an almost entirely new cast of characters this time around, which will open up the series more to new players. Now, speaking of the planet Kairos,
I can't wait until they explain how the guy who brainwashed the whole population suddenly lost control. Oh wait, they're not gonna explain that, are they? Fuck world building.
The world that Gearbox has built encompasses so much of the new things coming to the series. For the first time ever, we're getting a
okay, did you comment down below? Oh, that's not actually important for the storyline. We can just live without it. Did you comment that? Please tell me you commented that below, okay? Because I'm including you.
True open world versus the open zones from the previous games. Kairos has 4 distinct regions to explore, all of which are seamlessly connected to each other with no loading screens in between, or at least from my experience, I didn't notice any loading screens. So essentially, you can walk from the rolling hills of the Fade Fields at the beginning of the game, all the way to the frigid mountain peaks of the Terminus Range. Now, thanks to the upgrade to Unreal Engine 5, this is the largest and most detailed destination Gearbox has ever built, with rumors circling that the explorable space is larger than that of even Elden Ring and GTA 5. Now, you probably even noticed from the visuals that this is definitely an upgrade. The graphic novel art style looks a bit cleaner. The overall world of Kairos looks more vibrant and colorful. With that being said, though, you can definitely tell that
big things still look awkward and out of place.
This is a Borderlands game. Those post-apocalypse vibes, the art style, it's a Borderlands game through and through. However, something that was brought up the last time we talked about Borderlands is, yeah, the world may be big, but is there going to be things to actually do? Or is it just going to be a big open landscape?
No. The big red flag about the open world is the fact that you're gonna have a mount. Well, a car in this case, I guess. Or a hover bike if you want to be super gay about it. But you're gonna have that. And that's kind of a red flag, okay? When you're implementing something that goes like 10 times faster than you can run speed in, that just means that the developers ran out of shit to put into the game and it's just large for largeness sake and not actually full of stuff, okay? The world may be big, but the world is empty. This is what it's telling me. Because why would you want to move fast in the world if it was full of interesting shit? You wouldn't.
That just feels empty. Well, the openness of the world isn't the only new thing. There's also dynamic weather and events, including things like bosses and a bunch of random stuff that fits right in since it's a Borderlands
dynamic weather. I think that's new
game after all. From the recent gameplay event that Gearbox held, where we got about 90 minutes each to explore the Fade Fields region, we saw so many different things happening. Some folks beelined the main campaign missions, which this time around are non-linear.
Yeah, and this is really bad. We have a lot of footage, and all of this footage is literally pointing in one direction, and that is that the AI is just retarded. This AI is like mind's eye level of trash.
For the very first time, and some people just explored in different directions to see what they could find. Some folks just walked around when a spaceship on fire flew by in the sky and crash landed in the distance, then would follow the trail of smoke to that crash site, who would then be met with multi-step side missions that ultimately brought them underneath a drilling operation. We even saw a random airship event happen where we can beam up into an order ship and then try to kill everyone and destroy everything, which involved mechanics, which for some reason we just couldn't figure out and ultimately ended up failing. On top of that, there were towers promised that we could scale, literally parkouring our way up, making use of Borderlands 4's new movement abilities. There's also random armor truck patrols carrying tons of loot, world bosses called Rift Champions that appear randomly in your instance that have a greater chance of dropping rare world drops. There's crawler events that are these pseudo puzzles that unlock cosmetics, and those are just the ones that we've seen. There's probably a ton of other events outside of that. Now there's even smaller stuff too, like drill sites, auger mines, survivalists, caches, propaganda towers, and various collectibles to find and collect that we come to know and love from the previous games. Now you also have points of interest now that appear on the game's new UI compass and a much better world map. These points of interest can be many things, including timekeeper strongholds that once taken over can be claimed for your Crimson Resistance and unlocked as a safe house with a bounty board and a fast travel points. There's also silos that once hacked into deploy decommission order balloons that you can use for quick traversal across the sky. Now these silos also reveal secret vault key fragments that are scattered throughout the world. And once collected and combined together, you can go explore a hidden vault, which is a higher level dungeon with challenging combat and some serious loot. Now
So, Far Cry. Borderlands is now Far Cry 3, okay?
crazy thing is, all of this stuff can be found literally just in the starting region. It really seems like more than ever, Gearbox has built a world with lots of good distractions and tailored the world to lead you to new things while exploring, versus you just picking up a quest from a guy that tells you where to go all the time. CEO of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, said that they've littered the world with tons of secrets and hidden things in every nook and cranny, high up and down low, because they want the world to be not only fun to explore, but also surprising and rewarding. Let me just say, when it comes to open world games, that is the most important factor. In order to get lost in the world, it needs to be just chocked full of stuff that constantly distracts you. How many times have you played an open world game where, yes, you started off with the intention of maybe tackling one specific quest line, to suddenly find yourself completely off the beaten path, immersed in whatever other events or side quests, and then you look back on your gaming session going, holy hell, how did I even end up here? To me, that's like the best part of open world games. Now, the way you go about exploring Borderlands as a whole,
that is good, but that's in theory. Again, we don't actually know how good this is gonna be.
is completely changing as well. You've got a slew of new movement mechanics, which really add not only to just traversal, but also to the combat itself. You can point grapple, you can dash, you can glide, you can double jump, you can wall climb, you can even swim. The beautiful thing is that you can actually combo all of these together during exploration, allowing you to reach those new heights. And in terms of combat, I'm sure it's going to allow for some crazy speed runs. Now, another cool feature is that you can use the grapple to...
Now, I just want to say, all of this is actually cool. The open world, I already said this a long time ago, but if there's something that Borderlands 4 is going to improve upon, the open world is probably going to be at least somewhat reasonable. It's not going to be a complete disaster, but Diablo 4 had an open world. Sucked dicks, didn't it? No one cares about it. And why is that? Because, well, all the events are boring, all the things are boring. And the question about Borderlands 4 is, how oversaturated one activity is going to be. Because the moment you have one activity that you do constantly, it becomes boring. I think Path of Exile 1 did an amazing job at actually sparingly at times introducing different mechanics from different leagues into, well, when you were doing, for example, the campaign, okay? You found a lot of things that was not just go do main quest, and they felt interesting, because they didn't just happen constantly over and over and over and over again. But with Borderlands 4 and how bad Gearbox is as a company now, and how stupid Randy Pitchford is, I wonder that maybe they oversaturated things. Because it's really easy to say all of these things sound good, because they do. They do. They unironically do. All of the things named here sound good. Fun. Amazing, in fact. But the execution is what matters. Because none of these things are new concepts in the slightest. These are very, in fact, accepted things and anticipatable things. It just depends on how well they're executed, okay? Are we going to have, like, a 1-minute climbable tower every 3 minutes of gameplay? If so, that's a fucking disaster. That's going to be a dumb mechanic. You need a lot of mechanics tossed out sparingly, so you're not feeling like you're doing a chore because you're doing it over and over again. That's the trick. And how well Gearbox is gonna do this? Oh no, Chief.
grapple items to yourself. From throwable explosives and barrels, you can essentially just pick them up and then throw them at an enemy. Now, some of these new movement abilities can also be upgraded as you progress throughout the game. Gearbox has also ditched the whole catch-a-ride vehicle system for a more streamlined, easy to access, and customizable new toy, the Digirunner, your very own personal vehicle that you could summon at any time, very similar to Sparrows inside of Destiny. Now, these vehicles have many types. They're equipped with weapons, and you can even customize it via unlockable hover drives. There's also collectible cosmetics to find that drip out your ride, allowing you to travel in style. Now, the last new gadget in your ever-expanding tool belt is the Echo 4, a potential second nod to Destiny, as this little guy works essentially like our ghosts. They hover around you, they point you in the direction of tracked missions, they hack into things, they scan the environment, they also let you upgrade your ammo capacity.
Please let that shit have Peter Dinklage voice and be annoying and dumb.
And change your Vault Hunter's appearance on the fly. Which takes us to what build crafters are most interested in, that being our playable characters, also known as Vault Hunters. There are 4 brand new characters for you to jump in as. You've got Vex, the Siren, Rafa, the Exo Soldier, Harlow, the Gravatar, and Eamon, the Forged Knight. Now,
It's such a joke. The reason why they want to keep his helmet on constantly is because he's like Indian looking or whatever. It's kind of funny.
just by looking at these guys, you could probably already tell a little bit what each of them does. I've only personally played with...
Yeah. We have failed Nordic guy. We have Riri Williams. We have whatever and literally whatever again. It's pretty bad.
Vex and Rafa, but essentially Vex has the ability to summon minions. Rafa, the Exo Soldier, can either go full melee or he can summon these cannons that will automatically fire at enemies in your crosshair. Now, I've only seen gameplay of Harlow and Eamon. From what I've seen though, Harlow uses like telekinesis to lift and suspend enemies. He also has a mechanic called entanglement, where when enemies are afflicted with this rainbow glowing element, damage dealt to 1 spreads impact to all enemies currently entangled. So good AoE effects. Now, Eamon is actually probably going to be the one I'm going to use, just simply because he looks like a Titan main. He can throw these elemental axes at enemies, with the secondary action seal giving him multi-elemental throw. He can even summon a shield that absorbs damage and then pay it back to enemies with a projectile whip. In Scourge, he can also spawn a wall of fire that blocks incoming enemy shots and even provides cover for his team. Now, customizing your individual Vault Hunters build has also been expanded upon in Borderlands 4. You've got new equipment.
God, I absolutely love this. By the way, the design just never fails now, does it? Look at this, boys. Look at this. Oh, I'm gonna have pants where one of my legs is visible and one is not because I have a tattoo here. I'm quirky and special. Kill me now. Just kill me now, okay?
Individual Vault Hunters build has also been expanded upon in Borderlands 4. You've got new equipable items, new slots, more skills, more passives, new systems, a ton of options. Now,
yeah, they do have a lot more passives. Now, granted, this is not really exciting. This is kind of worse than Dragon Age Veil God, because in Dragon Age Veil God, you at least, like, had things that you could do with the things. Here, this is... Well, you can literally see it, right? Plus 2% movement speed, plus 1% damage reduction. It's not really good. It's really basic. ChatGPT could probably do a better job at making interesting talent points at this point.
This time around, each action skill now has its own dedicated skill tree on top of the passive skill trees that we're used to seeing, which have also been expanded upon with many more options. Now, there's even socketable augments and capstones that act as powerful build-defining changes to your action skills. Overall, there's more than twice the amount of build customization options present here than there were in Borderlands 3. And we haven't even started talking about gear. Now, something that Gearbox has pointed to is that the upgrades to all of their weapons through Unreal Engine 5, essentially saying that everything has now been built using 4 times the polygons. They also have much more variables to them.
Oh shit, are we gonna get 16 times the graphical fidelity moment? Man, they should have They should have gotten Todd Howard as guest appearance.
Thanks to the license part system. And the simplest way of explaining this new feature goes like this. In past Borderlands games, each gun is from one of the handful of weapon manufacturers, and each manufacturer has their distinct traits. So for instance, if you found a Maliwan gun, for example, you know that it deals elemental damage, and you can switch between two different elements on the fly. No matter if the gun is a pistol, shotgun, sniper, whatever, it always had that Maliwan elemental traits. In Borderlands 4, weapon manufacturers have gotten more greedy and essentially started working together. What that means is that every weapon has the chance to drop parts from other manufacturers. The higher the level and the rarity of the weapon, the more parts it can roll with. Now, these parts give bonuses to the weapon that relate to the manufacturer that the part is from. Now,
so by the way, this system on its own is gonna create a really lot of, hey, I got this 1 in a 100 billion drop chance weapon, which is gonna be real, by the way. It's just people don't understand statistics. When you have a weapon and there's 4 parts possible, and you know each part has like 20 different things, and you know, for example, this weapon is only dropped by 1 boss. Even a 1 in 10,000 chance, if you can do it, you know, every 20 minutes, let's say, still is a fucking shit ton of time to actually wait for. So, the weapon rarity, RNG, and all of this is gonna be pretty funny. And it's gonna be pretty fun, to be honest.
to the manufacturer that the part is from. Now, if we use the same Maliwan gun, for example, in Borderlands 4, it might drop with the Torgue magazine, giving it explosive ammunition, all while still having the same Maliwan elemental switch that the base.
Dude, am I the only one who's noticing?
Explosive
Look.
ammunition, all while still
Look. Watch.
having these.
It dies and instantaneously the old, it just gets despawned instead. There's a new model that's spawned and that's dead. This is insane.
Maliwan elemental switch that the base model is known for. Now, this adds a beautiful amount of randomization on top of the already heavy RNG focused loot that Borderlands has. But hey man, that's the name of the game. They've always had tons and tons of loot and weapons that do crazy things. And this only adds to the huge pool of wackiness and build possibilities, especially when you pull legendaries into the mix, which also can roll with random parts. Now, they work a bit differently, as their legendary ability takes up a weapon part slot. So at max, you can get 3 random weapon parts on a legendary instead of a max of 4 that you can get on epic and purple quality loot. This also makes epic loot more in-game viable and throws them into the build crafting mix more than ever before, solely because they can roll with so many random parts. You could be incredibly lucky and get something that works so well together and is so strong.
Okay, let's actually... Let's actually calculate the chances for the legendary. So we have four mods. So one of those 4 mods is 1 in 4. Let's say that it can be any one of those 4 positions, right? So we need a legendary slot in, let's say, specifically one of those 4. And then we have that 1 in 4 times. Oh shit! This actually gets so much bigger. This actually gets so much bigger. I don't actually even know how to calculate this properly. I think because what if the slots can be different types? For example, what if there's like now like 7 different parts manufacturers and you need to roll actually, so you have that 4, then you roll a 1 out of 7 for the next part, and that 1 out of 7 has 20 different affixes that you need, so that's times 20. Then you need to do that that's 7 times 20 again, and then you need to do that 7 times 20 again. So this is how it works. So this is with 1 legendary slot taken. Okay, so this is why we have the 4, because it's a 1 in 4. Then there's a 1 in 7 chance to get the correct mod for the correct manufacturing. And then let's say there are like 20 affixes. By the way, we can change this. We can change all of this. But let's imagine, for example, this is like on the higher end for the legendary weapon. So this is 1, okay? So this is the legendary one. This is the one. This is the part with the correct affix. This is the second part with the correct affix, and this is the third part with the correct affix. So, how much do you think this is the probability of? There we go. There we go. 11 billion. Oh no, 11 million. Sorry. It's just millions, boys. It's just literally almost 11 million, okay? So, your chance of getting that specific... Now, admittedly, we don't really know this. We don't really know this. Maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's actually like... I don't know. Wait, how does... Can I just swap this? No, I can't. Well, whatever. You know... Maybe it's actually something like this. Okay, let's do it. Maybe it's actually something like this, like 1 out of 4 legendaries, then it's 5, and then there's like 10 affixes, right? And then we do that two times more, 50, because 5 times 10 is 50, right? Then you have just 1 in 500,000 chance of getting the perfect weapons coordination. But what if this is not a 4 anymore here, okay? But what if it's 50? Oh, wait. Good. What if it's 50 times 50 times 50 times 50, okay? Oh, look at that. Boys, it's only 6 million. So the perfect, depending on how high the numbers go here, you're gonna be looking at items with a 1 in 5 million drop rate chances with the correct shit, and that's not even counting, like, for example, having the right implicit at the end of maybe there's like 3 types of implicits or whatever, which boosts that up obviously close to 20 million. Okay, these are gonna be the weapons drop chances. Again, it kind of depends on how this part right here works. But it's going to be pretty funny. It's going to be pretty funny. And maybe there's, for example, this is not a 4. This is maybe a 10 because there's 10 different legendary affixes that you can get. Okay? This shit is going to go wild, okay? If we had a 10 instead of a 4 here, let's actually calculate. If we had a 10 instead of a 4 here, this was 11. This was 11 million. So a 10 instead of a 4 here would make it 250 million. 1 in a 250 million if for example, you're looking for... Oh no, that's not even correct. That would be a 1 in billion, because this would not be a 10. This would be a 40, because you need to get it into the right slot. 1 in a 4 chance, and then there's 10 different type of... Okay, listen, boys. We're gonna be dealing with 1 in multiple hundreds of millions of affixes, if everything is pure random. Because there's obviously gonna be, like, guns who have, like, 1 of 2 mods only available, and there's gonna be, like, 1 affix or whatever. Depending on how much variety here exists, we're literally talking at minimum 1 in thousands of drop rate to upwards close to 1 in a billion drop rate for items. It's gonna be pretty wild. It's honestly gonna be pretty wild.
That it rivals even legendaries. Adding onto this, there's also ordnance, which is a new slot for heavy weapons like machine guns and rocket launchers, but also grenades, throwing knives, wrist cannons, and more. Now, those last two being completely new loot additions to the series. These don't require ammo and instead act on a cooldown, so you no longer have to hold onto your super powerful weapons for a possible upcoming boss. Now, this also frees up a weapon slot because you don't have that giant rocket launcher taking up space anymore. Now you can equip 4 weapons plus whatever you throw into into your ordnance slots. Now, ordnance weapons also have a completely different rule set for its randomly rolled parts. Without getting too much in the weeds here, just from what I've gathered, just know there's going to be a baffling amount of ordnance customization. Now, if you're a new player, or if you're someone like me that's just been out of the Borderlands loop, I get it. This may sound overwhelming. Gearbox even acknowledged this and mentioned the system will start everyone out slow. At first, you'll just be getting base weapons so that you get an idea of what each manufacturer does. Then over time, as you level up and progress and find better loot, you'll start to see more and more parts roll on weapons to ease you into the system. Now, as far as the total number of weapon manufacturers this time around, it seems to be 8 of them. 5 returning and 3 brand new.
8! No, I can't even explain to you which pot I'm even thinking about, but yeah, that's big.
Ones. Vladoff, Torque, Jacobs, Molly 1, and Tito are returning, and the 3 new ones are Order, which use the advanced arsenal of the Timekeeper's Order army against them, loading extra ammo into the high power bursts to eliminate targets with precision accuracy. We've got Daedalus, which I'm probably killing these names, guys, but these weapons run from full auto assault rifles, shotguns, to burst firing pistols.
Is it Daedalus or is it Daedalus? I never actually know. I think it's Daedalus.
SMGs with the ability to use multiple ammo types, and then Ripper, which needs a little time to spin up before blasting at full auto for as long as you can hold the trigger. Now, you would think at this point we're done with loot. We're not. There's even more new stuff. Let's just say you really like a certain weapon manufacturer and you want to build around it. Enter in the new enhancement slot. This slot replaces the artifact slot from Borderlands 3, and it allows you to build craft into your favorite weapon type. Do you really like precision shots and bouncing around crits with Jacob weapons? Slot in a Jacob's enhancement buff, which would then buff up those ricochet bounce percentages and crit damage. Another new gear slot is the rep kit, which basically act as a booster item. It can be used to give you health regeneration, move speed, increased rate of fire, and other buffs depending on the kind that you equip. It acts on a cooldown and replaces the health pickups from the previous games. Now, you know what else this series is missing? Set bonuses. Now those are in the game in the form of firm.
After Diablo 4 ruined set bonuses forever, I hate all set bonuses forever.
A system that has been kept relatively hidden by Gearbox. As they said, it's more of an in-game build crafting feature, which they aren't talking about yet. But firmware is not a slot on its own, but instead a modifier that can randomly roll on non-gun.
I absolutely love how no one can use these canisters to kill enemies properly. That's just so hilarious. They're just... It's just such a waste.
They aren't talking about yet. But firmware is not a slot on its own, but instead a modifier that can randomly roll on non-gun gear, including shield, rep kits, class mod, ordnance, and enhancements. Now, there's a bunch of different types of firmware, and the more you have of a specific firmware equipped, the more powerful it becomes, or the more bonuses you get, up to a max of 3. Now, we don't know what abilities firmware adds exactly. This has been kept under wraps by Gearbox, but I would assume it's going to be pretty powerful, as there's an in-game vending machine dedicated for firmware transferring, whatever that means. Now, it's also important to point out that all these new gear items have rarities too, all the way up to legendaries. So they'll be a very integral part of your Vault Hunter's build alongside your weapons and skill trees, which is why the build crafting potential of this game is most likely going to blow past its predecessors pretty much in every way, but especially when you consider the new licensed part system. Now, it's also worth noting that Gearbox has done a huge pass on their rarity system thanks to feedback from Borderlands 3. Essentially, rarity will matter again. Legendaries will not be raining from the sky anymore, and when you find one, it will be, quote, a truly special event. Or you could just be like me.
Okay, so again, 1 in a billion chance for... No, actually, it's more than, because I put a 7, but that 7 is actually 8. So 3 sevens replaced with it. I can't actually even do this math in my head. That's how fucking big this shit is getting. Ugh, it's not that much. It's like 3% increase for 3. It's a 3 to the power of 2 increase. So effectively, that probably only adds 100 more million chance. Only 100 million more chance more to just find the correct piece of thing, right? But again, we don't know how many affixes. Maybe there are no affixes. If there's no affixes, then we're only talking about, again, a 1 in 1,000. But even now, again, even if it's 1 in 1,000, what happens when you can only find one legendary an hour, maybe, or in 30 minutes? So you need to do that a lot of fucking times. That's $500, AK. Imagine spending 500 hours to just be on the percentile likely to acquire chance. Not counting unluckiness, okay? 500 hours to find the perfect legendary item, boys. How does that sound?
And walk straight past it. Now, they also assured that they did a pass on all rarities because they wanted all gear to feel good, not just the rarest of gear. And just like the past games, each boss still has a dedicated loot pool. So you'll be able to farm that super rare gun with the crazy low drop rate to your heart's content. Now, speaking of bosses, there's been a very good change made to boss fights themselves, as well as the process of farming them. To make farming easier, they've added an entirely new feature called Moxie's Big Encore Machine. This is literally a machine you interact with that will automatically respawn a boss or restart a story mission. No saving or loading required. No multiple loading screens required. This is something that I've seen Borderlands players asking for quite some time. As far as overall boss fights go, Gearbox has emphasized that they've made boss encounters much more exciting, with some having actual mechanics to them, which is much needed, so nobody likes just straight bullet sponges within
Tell that to Veil God.
vulnerability phases. I think the best example of this so far is the hidden vault boss we went up against at the Borderlands 4 event, which I had a great time taking on, and just hearing other Borderlands players talk about it, they too seem to be enjoying it. Moxie even said that this boss was the best boss fight in any Borderlands game, period. I would say that if Borderlands 4 has more boss fights like this, dude, I'm down. So guys, that is essentially the majority
Boss fights with actual mechanics sounds best, though.
of the big stuff coming with this next
I wonder if the shooting and the looting can actually bypass the fact that the story is gonna be ass. Because the story is gonna be ass, like, make no mistake. The Borderlands 4 story already died.
next iteration of Borderlands. Now, there are some smaller things I want to fire off really quickly before we talk about the planned post-launch content. Borderlands 4 will have online co-op with up to 4 players, like it's always had, as well as local
Okay, we probably know level scaling. What the hell? Swap enemy scale with levels. This is gonna be a hot one. Do people like it or not?
4. Now, lastly, because Borderlands 4 is an open world game, we do need to talk about level scaling. Borderlands 4 has a semi-dynamic level scaling, which works like this. Say you boot up the game for the first
Got it. Well, anyway, that was Outs the Cross. 10 out of 10. Bye.